Welcome to the Man of Recaps. This is Severance, Season 1. Meet Mark Scott, who works at the megacorporation Lumen Industries, and he's had an exciting new procedure called Severance, which splits your memories between your work and home life. This means from his perspective, he clocks in and goes down the elevator, then it's immediately 5 o'clock quitting time. Sounds amazing. But this means for his work persona, it's the opposite. He never actually gets to leave the office, which is basically hell. The innies, as they're called, make the best of things, enjoy some nice coworker camaraderie, but today there's a huge shakeup as Mark finds out his best friend in here, Petey, quit without notice, so Mark will never see him again. But this means Mark is the new department head, so he's gonna do his best, and his first job is to train Petey's replacement, a new girl, Helly R. Initiation is terrifying and disorienting as you wake up on this conference table with no memory of who you are. As Mark reads the corporate script about Severance, Helly rightfully freaks out and tries to escape. But it's like, look, you're not a prisoner here, of course you can leave, but every time she walks out, she walks right back in because her outie is like, what are you doing? Get back to work. Their direct supervisor is Mr. Milchick, who is not severed and is kind of like their babysitter. To celebrate Helly's first day, they get the super exciting melon bar and other fun team-building activities. But Helly is not having it. She writes herself a note that she wants to quit, but the elevator sensors pick it up. They've got a strict no-notes policy. Of course, you can send your outie a resignation request through the proper channels, but they're always denied. Mark's like, look, you make the best of it in here. Their one coworker, Dylan, lives for the silly perks you get for hitting your quotas, while Irving, their older coworker, has a religious-like reverence for Lumen and their founder, Keir Egan. For Mark's part, he just tries to keep a positive attitude and assumes the work they're doing is important. Now, what are they doing? Their department is macro data refinement, and they're just sorting unintelligible random numbers. But when you look at them for a while, groups of numbers evoke different emotions, like group 1 numbers are scary. It sounds ridiculous until you see it for yourself. It's clearly encrypted somehow, so they have no idea what they're sorting. Dylan thinks they're clearing the sea of killer eels, but it's probably not that. Now, Mark's outside life is not that exciting. His wife died in a car crash a few years back, and he's mostly just depressed. He has a funny pregnant sister, though, who he loves, and her husband is a hilariously insufferable pseudo-intellectual. But the big shakeup comes when he gets a visit from his work friend, Petey. He's gone through reintegration to undo his severance, and it's like, look, it's bad down there, and Lumen's up to no good. I'm caught up in a corporate conspiracy. They're out to kill me. Mark's like, look, man, I don't know you. If we're best friends, I guess you can crash here for a while, but I don't want to get involved. But he's already involved because his nice old lady neighbor, Mrs. Selvig, is his boss, Mrs. Cobell. And yeah, she's got a key to his house and like swoops around to keep tabs on him. She doesn't find Petey, but reintegration is rough. Eventually he wanders off and dies of a brain aneurysm, and someone keeps calling Petey's phone, but Mark ignores it for now. Inside, Helly refuses to work. She keeps trying to find ways to tell her outie she quits. Eventually she causes enough trouble, she's punished with a timeout in the break room. She's forced to read this weirdly religious apology over and over again 1,000 times until she means it. But she's not broken, she's madder than ever, takes her fingers hostage and demands to make a video telling her outie how awful it is here. But her outie sends her back down with a response video. Look, you don't get to make the decisions. You're not a real person. Not a real person, am I? Well, Helly's gonna show her. She tries to hang herself in the elevator, so her outie wakes up with a nasty surprise. They're able to save her in time, though. She survives, and even after that, her outie still sends her back in. This really troubles Mark. He drops the professional persona and tries to connect with Helly person to person. And there's been a couple of other big shakeups. Mark found that Petey was trying to map the hallways, very much against the rules. Mark's brother-in-law left him a copy of his new book, and Lumen confiscated it to check for messages, but they accidentally left it out where the severed workers found it, and they've never seen any book except the company handbook. The book is hilariously bad, pretentious self-help drivel, but to these innies who have never read anything before, it blows their minds. Another big shakeup comes when Macrodata bumps into another department. Yes, that's Christopher Walken, Bert G of Optics and Design. They're in charge of deciding where to hang the weirdly religious corporate art, but coincidentally Irving bumped into him earlier, and these two bonded over their love of art and Keir Egan. These two continue to visit and get an office flirtation going. Yes, it's a super cute old dude romance. Dylan doesn't trust O&D though. There's rumors that years ago they attacked Macrodata, but turns out O&D heard rumors Macrodata attacked them. Seems like management's playing them against each other. Helly's being monitored now by their wellness director, Miss Casey, who they sometimes meet with for these corporate scripted wellness sessions. A hug is available upon request, but Mark spills some coffee on her notebook to get her out of there for a while, and he takes Helly on a real walk to talk about things. It's like, look, I'm with you now. This place is messed up, so they start to really bond. But wait, where are they now? They've wandered farther than ever before through the labyrinth of indistinguishable hallways, and they find another department they didn't know existed, where it's just this guy raising baby goats. What is going on here? So Macrodata Refinement bands together, decides they need to befriend Optics and Design, who turns out to have a bunch of people back here 3D printing random objects. But management's not having this. Their hallway privileges are revoked, and Bert G is forced into retirement. Their blossoming love story tragically cut short. Now their boss, Mrs. Cobell, is a strange character who's a full devotee of the Kier Egan religion, and it's unclear why she has such a keen interest in Mark's life. But she's not the top boss. She still reports to the board of directors, who only speak to her through this proxy and on the intercom where they never say anything. And she's not afraid to get her hands dirty, goes to Petey's funeral to retrieve his severance chip, where yeah, they find he was reintegrated. It wasn't supposed to be possible. Mark finally decides to pick up Petey's phone and meets the Lumen doctor, who now decided Severance is evil and is working against him. But just then, Lumen security tracks him down too, and she's gotta kill this guy. What's Mark gotten into? She gives Mark his key card. Take it to work. Your innie will know what to do. And there's another big development when Dylan G is woken up outside the office. They didn't know this was possible. It's called the overtime contingency, just for emergencies. The emergency is, while hanging out in O&D, Dylan grabbed this random self-defense card and pocketed it. Mr. Milchick's like, look, you have no idea how sensitive that is. Where did you hide it? It's like, no, it's just back at the office. But then they're interrupted by Dylan's son. It's only for a second, but now it's changed his life. So they're all now being more closely supervised than ever, but there's still time for some corporate fun, because Helly R hit 75%, which has earned her an MDE, a music dance experience. She chooses Defiant Jazz, and it's an awesome dance party, the most fun you ever have in here. But Dylan's still thinking about his son. He snaps and attacks Milchick. The MDE is canceled. He fills them all in about the overtime contingency, and it's like, look, we can use this to tell people outside we're prisoners in here. And Mark has no idea how his outie got it, but he's got the security key card. It's time for a revolution. First step of the plan, though, they have to work hard to hit their quota and earn the much-coveted egg bar. And tonight's the big night, so as they're saying goodbye, oh, Helly and Mark start smooching. Yeah, office romance. Now, because they hit quota, Dylan G, as the top refiner, gets to stay late for the even more coveted waffle party in the replica Kier mansion they have here. And turns out there's a secret second part to the waffle party. You get to watch a super weird, sexy dance. But Dylan dips out. He's on a mission, goes to the security office and activates the overtime contingency. And so our innies wake up in the outside world. Mark finds himself at a bit of a party. In fact, it's a reading of his favorite book, and turns out the genius author's his own brother-in-law. Wow, my life's amazing. Irving finds out he's a painter, but he's been compulsively painting the same thing over and over again, this scary dark hallway. That's not the break room hallway. What is it? Well, turns out Miss Casey was just fired and sent to a different elevator. Not the one that goes up, but one that goes further down. What is going on here, and why does Irving remember it? Helly finds herself at a fancy party and learns that she is Helena Egan, and this whole party's about her. Yes, her working there was all for pro-Severance propaganda. She briefly meets her father, the current Lumen CEO, and they're really trying to make Severance a bigger thing. In fact, earlier, when Mark's sister went on a birthing retreat, she made friends with another pregnant woman, and when she ran into her later, absolutely didn't remember her. Her husband's a pro-Severance senator, and it seems like she severed herself to avoid the pain of giving birth. But Mark now runs into a big problem. Their boss, Mrs. Cobell, is at this party. Yeah, as Mark's nice neighbor, Mrs. Selvig, she's been the nice baby helper for his sister. But any Mark doesn't know that and calls her Mrs. Cobell. Oh, the jig is up. Actually, the board had just fired her that day, but she's ready to get her job back and stop this innie rebellion. But Mark succeeds on his mission, tells his sister everything. You got to expose to the world how bad it is down there. Meanwhile, Irving finds out his outie's been researching Severance. In fact, he's got a map with a bunch of severed employees on it, including Bert G. He rushes over there, only to find he is happily married, but he's knocking on the door anyway. But Helly's got the biggest stage. She's the keynote speaker and reveals she's the innie and my life's a living hell. But now Mark makes an epic discovery. His dead wife is Miss Casey. It's a race against time as he runs out there. She's alive! And just then Milchick tackles Dylan. The link is cut, and that's where season 1 comes to an end. If you like this recap, hit that subscribe button for more of the best recaps of TV and movies.